Hi, today I'm at Port Erroll near Cruden Bay in Aberdeenshire, and the plan is to camp as near as I can to the World War II radio navigation base. Now, that might pose a slight problem in that this area is incredibly busy with dog walkers, even on a wet day like today. And the second problem I might have is I have a brand new tent which I've never taken out of the bag, and it doesn't appear to have any instructions whatsoever. So we'll have to see if I can work it out. I'm sure I can. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll swing the camera around and we'll walk towards these buildings over here, and when we get inside I'll tell you a little bit more about the history of the place. This is the remains of the Port Erroll Lauren SS radio navigation station. Now, in the Second World War, this place would have been a top secret location, and most of the people who lived around here thought it was just a radar base, which was pretty common along this coast, but it wasn't a radar base at all. Now, the reason this place was here was because in the 1930s and 1940s, planes and boats navigated by using compasses and landmarks. So precision bombing and precision navigation in aircraft at night was pretty much impossible. There was no GPS, and GPS was going to be another 50 years coming. So there was a big push to find some way of precision navigating the bombers so they could bomb Germany. Now, in 1937, one of the scientists called Bob Dippy, who was working on the radar chain, went to the Ministry of Defence with an idea he'd got. And his idea was effectively using radar backwards. Now, I apologise to the scientists out there for simplifying it, but it's a pretty complex subject. He came up with a thing called a hyperbolic system, which was where two fixed points on the shore had a synchronized pulse that was sent out, and any plane receiving them would measure the difference in time that it took for them to receive it, and then from that there was a formula for calculating their position. Now, he had this idea in 1937, and by 1940 it was on RAF bombers. Now, around about the same time, America had a meeting with Britain, and they found out that they were both working on pretty much the same thing, but the British system was far further ahead. So what they did was they agreed that they would take on a longer range, less accurate system to work in tandem with the G radar system that the British had built. And Bob Dippy went to America to help them out to build it. And what they came up with was a thing called LORAN, which stood for Long Range Navigation. And LORAN sets were also installed on RAF and USAF bombers so that they could cross-reference what they found from them and get an accurate reading. Now, one of the scientists in America, whilst working on LORAN, called Jack Pierce, found out that if he used it at night, he could get signals to go further than line of sight. Now, line of sight was the restriction for any radio-based system. But for some reason, the LORAN at night would go past the horizon and would keep going. And he was getting readings for thousands of miles. And they found out that what it was happening was it was bouncing off the troposphere layer in the atmosphere. And this only happens at night. So Jack Pierce kind of took this idea and ran with it. And he came up with a thing called LORAN SS, which is probably an unfortunate acronym looking back at the war, but nevertheless, it was called LORAN SS for Skywave or Short Skywave. I can't remember what it stood for. I'll put it there. Anyway, so what happened was he perfected this thing, and they decided that they were going to put one station in Britain, and that was this one. The other station was put in Tunisia in Bizarit. There. See? Bad memory. And between those two stations, synchronized radio pulses were sent, and planes were able to navigate anywhere between Scotland and North Africa and as far east as the eastern edge of Poland. So Europe, particularly Germany, was well within the range of British and American bombers. Now, the weird thing about LORAN SS is the further apart the stations are, the more accurate it got. So they managed to get 100-metre accuracy between these two stations. And that is why this place was critical for the long-range bombing missions that happened at night towards the end of the war. Now, as the war passed, this system was refined and it was used by the American Coast Guard Agency and the British military. And until satellites came in, this Lauren SS was kind of the premier navigation system. The place shut down a couple of years after the war. And actually over there is a completely separate thing. That is a ROC, Royal Observer Corps nuclear bunker from a Cold War era. And that was an observer's bunker. I'll put a picture of what they look like up here. That's completely separate from this, but because the site was owned by the Ministry of Defence, they decided to put it here. Now on the aerial map, you can see where the main antenna was. These two blocks, this was the electronics room, and the block over there was the generator room. And you can see at the edge, you can see the outlines of where the Nissan huts were, because there'd be about 100 people working here, and it worked day and night. It was maintained for the day, and it was run through the night. And this ran every night, and it continued to pulse beams across to guide the bombers from all over Britain towards Germany. I hope you found that interesting. It was a bit of a complex subject, and this is still a very unknown site. So I hope you enjoyed it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and get my tent up before the sun goes down and get some food on. So I'll see you then. Now the tent's up, I think I'm going to get a brew on, and I've got a new toy. I love my fresh coffee, and a pop-up pour-over filter. And I've test run it at home, and I'm very impressed. And it takes standard size 2 filter papers, so they just sit in like that, and then you just put it on. Oop, where's my cup gone? Where's my cup gone? Around here somewhere. There we go. So you just put it on top of your cup and pour your hot water in, and jobs are good. And so we'll get a cup of coffee on the go. Today I'm using my super lightweight fire maple, which is a rip-off of a pocket rocket. So gas, little stove, tiny little stove, weighs absolutely nothing. If I can get it out of the bag. I mean, it's got no piezo or anything on it. It's super basic, but still an absolute brilliant little stove. So as you can see, very similar to an MSR product. Like most things fire maple, they're a copy of something that's about 5 times as expensive, and pretty spot on that. And I'll use my stainless steel pot on the top. Make it a bit flatter like that. And I've actually got a windshield. Well, I've done with it. There we go. Cheap little thing off Amazon. I took a few sections out of it because it didn't need to be as big as it was. And, a couple of quid, and they're absolutely brilliant. So we'll get some water on. It's not spring water. I just use the bottles. These San Pellegrino bottles are lighter than my water bottles, so I use them. There we go. That should be enough. And we'll turn this, I'll let you see it, turn this bad boy on. As you can see, it roars. Put the windshield back round it. We'll get some water on, and I'll bring you back when it's boiled. Okay, there we go. Coffee's boiling. Let's turn that thing off. No, that was it. There we go. So let's lob them out of the way. So we get a cup. Let's take that off there so you can see what I'm doing. A cup and a filter and some coffee I ground at home 3 hours ago. So 3 or 4 spoons for me, because I like it strong. Probably 3's enough actually, I think. There we go. And like that. We'll take that off there. And we'll put a little bit in at first. I think they call that the bloom. That's all the hipsters, you know. And then, rather than filling it right up to the top when there's a risk of these things collapsing, you just let it get down a little bit and then you just keep topping it up. Now, if you're into instant coffee, you probably think this is a bit of a faff, but I like my fresh coffee, and I did a video years ago on different ways of doing it. I often use coffee bags. So I've even got an espresso, a stovetop espresso maker. If I'm going real heavyweight, I'll take that with me. But this is a really good lightweight option. In fact, you know, it's barely heavier than doing coffee bags, but it's significantly better than coffee bags. So you just keep putting your water in, and what you get is nice fresh coffee coming out the bottom, and job's a good one then. Now, I've ground this really finely, which is probably too fine for this, but I've got a espresso machine at home and I've set my grinder for that, so I just ground it with the same setting. It goes through a lot faster if you've got a kind of coarser grind, but slower it goes through, stronger your coffee, and I like strong coffee, so it'll be just right. Yeah, we're still going. So I'll top her up with the last bit of water. Obviously making sure I don't go past the filter paper or I get all the grinds in my coffee. So that's it pretty much through. I'm going to pack my stove away because I like to have all my kit stowed just in case I have to bug out, shall we say. So put my cloth at the bottom, that in there, fold the little arms over, there we go, and then turn that, and put the lid on. Job's a good one. So that's it done, and there you go. Nice, strong black cup of coffee. And that is so much better than a coffee bag, and it's light years better than a cup of instant coffee. That's my opinion. So if you like black coffee, these things, it was really cheap. It was 4 or 5 quid. If I can find it, I'll put the Amazon link for it. I'm not making any money off it, but if, you know, it might help you. So I'm gonna chill out, watch the sun go down, and drink my coffee. And I'll see you when I'm getting my stove on for some food, because of course it'll be spicy noodles. Well, tonight's dinner is gin ramen. Genuine Korean stuff, and it always concerns me a little bit when a Korean product says spicy. So I should imagine this is quite a hot one. And tonight's protein of choice is chunks of bacon grill. And I'm told that that's actually quite authentic in Korea because spam is very much used. So I boiled the water. Ah, that's warm. So we'll top her up. Yay. There we go. And let that sit for a bit to do its magic. And put the lid back on there. And I'll come back with a verdict on gin ramen spicy noodles, because as ever, nobody needs to see me sticking noodles in my face. So I'll see you when I've had that. So those noodles, boy were they spicy. I think when a Korean product says spicy on the label, they really mean it. So that was it. Otagai gin ramen. Wow, that was spicy, but very tasty. If you like spicy ones, Yeah, try them. They were pretty darn good. So I've got, what, about 10 or 15 minutes worth of light. It's about 7:45. What time is it? Let me quickly find my phone and I'll tell you what the time is, because I'm actually guessing. It's 8 o'clock. Bang on 8 o'clock. So just goes to show the nights really are drawing out. So it should be dark now. Sorry, it's going to be dark in 5 or 10 minutes. I can see the sun's going down and I can certainly feel it's getting cold. It's got into my thermometer. It's already 3 degrees, so it's getting chilly. I've put my down jacket on, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in the tent. I'm going to get my talking book on and listen to a bit more Rebus and chill out with the sound of the waves in the background. And I'll switch the camera on just before I'm going for my kip. So I'll see you a bit later. Ta-da. Well, that's it, gone dark. I had my supper and I'm chilled out. I've had a listen to my Rebus book and I think it's time for bed. I've just checked the weather forecast and it's changed, surprise, surprise. So the forecast is for high winds and heavy rain at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, which has kind of moved on a little bit. So my alarm's set for 5:30, so I can get up with the first light at 6 o'clock-ish, get this thing packed up and get out of here before the storm hits, because that storm and high tide are about the same time, and I'm not wanting to get battered by 30-40 mile an hour winds and big waves coming over those rocks. So it's an early start tomorrow morning, so I'm going to hit the sack and I'll see you in the morning. Well, good morning. That was a great night's sleep. Now, it's been really blowy through the night. I could hear the wind howling outside. But the tent stood really good, hasn't budged a bit. It's now chucking down with rain and the wind is definitely picking up. So forecast was right. It's 5:30. It's 3 degrees, so it's still a bit chilly out there. So the plan is get everything packed up in here, take the inner tent down, get my waterproofs on, get outside, get the rest of the tent down and get home as quick as I can. So I'm going to get on with that and I'll speak to you when I get home and I'll do a wash up on the highs and lows of the camp. So see you then. Well, that's me home and dry and not a moment too soon. I think if I'd left it any longer, I'd have really been in the thick of the weather there. But well, the tent was really good and it had a proper test for me, and that was, I put it up without instruction and it was a really intuitive tent to put up. But more importantly, it was a good tent to take down in a howling gale. You can collapse that tent while having one peg still in the ground, and I managed to get it all packed up and rolled away. Also, there's enough room inside to be able to take the inner tent down while you're still in there. So I packed my Bergen with the inner tent and everything that was inside that tent before I stepped outside, which was really cool. So for me, it's a really good foul weather tent and I'm looking forward to using it a lot. Now, the pitch, what a lovely spot. I mean, I don't know if you could tell in the pictures, but I was just below a dip on the sea cliff, so I was kind of out of sight, but also it kind of protected me from the wind that came from the west. But obviously in the morning the wind had swung around and it was coming from the east off the sea and I was getting hit by it. But I think I left just at the right time. So all in all, a really good camp. Now, if you'd like to go there, in the description I'll put the what 3 words links for where I parked the car and where I camped. And I parked the car at Port Erroll Harbour, and you can also park camper vans there. So if you're a van camper, Port Erroll Harbour, they're pretty receptive to campers, and there's public toilets there as well. So pretty good. So that's it for this camp. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you're not already subscribed, consider clicking the subscribe button. And if you are, please leave me a thumbs up if you liked it and a comment down below. Until the next one, I'll say ta-da a bit. Ta-da.